Hey guys, how's it going? My name is J Bob and welcome to part 2 of my How to Draw TMNT series. Today we're going to be covering the color part of the drawing that I did. Firstly, I would just like to apologize because a few months back I started this tutorial series and I never finished it, and that's because I genuinely thought there was no interest in this thing. And I checked the other day and saw that there was 358 of you or so that up to this date that had watched the video, so there was generally a good amount of interest there, especially for my videos. I usually don't get that much hits. So there are people out there that have watched this thing and they probably want to see a conclusion to it. So I thought, okay, well, we're going to have to come back and we're going to have to finish this thing. Um, Secondly, you might be noticing that this is not Michelangelo. For the people that watched the first video, yeah, this is obviously Raphael. And the reason I'm showing you him is because this is what the finished product with Mikey is going to look like, only a lot more happy and yeah, yeah, with an orange face mask. Anyways, we're going to go over here real quick and I'm going to go ahead and open painting. No, I don't want to save. Let's see. Where did I put that? TMNT. There we go. Okay. There we go. B. That's the thing. That's what we want. Okay. Yeah. First thing I'm going to do, I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean up just a little bit because I noticed there's this little thing sticking out over here. That does not look too attractive. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer and we're going to go ahead and throw that underneath everything else. Now if I wanted to, I could probably merge the line work here and here. And I don't think I'm going to do that, but yeah, anyways, we're going to go start with this layer. And the first thing you want to do when you're coloring anything is you're going to want to get the lightest shade possible. I'm going to try to sample that from Mikey's skin here. Where you at, dog? Where you at? Yeah, I guess we can go with that. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my trusty, what do you call it? My airbrush tool. And I'm going to just that looks good. I'm going to just start filling in here. When you start doing color work, you just generally want to start off with the lightest shade possible and then darken from there. And that's basically the long and the short of it. Color work is really intimidating for a lot of young artists. Shade work is very, very intimidating for young artists. Especially, I remember that was the case for myself. I just didn't want to do it. It was like one of those things where, you know, when you're a kid, I didn't think much of it. I just grabbed the crayons and went. But as I got older, I started looking at what I was doing and I started using a critical line of thinking towards my art, and I just didn't like what I was seeing. And I got really intimidated by it, but it's really not that bad, especially if you're doing digital art. Actually, I would recommend to younger artists, if you want to get a good feel for color work and you don't want to have to deal with all the fuss and the muss and everything, go out and get you a Wacom tablet of some sort and a drawing program like ArtRage, and you can get ArtRage on Steam for about, when it's on sale, you can get it for pretty cheap. I got this for like $12. Anyways, I'm just filling in here, doing a little bit of fill-in work. And I could have made this color a little bit lighter. I could have went in and made it a little bit more opaque. And it really, honestly, you don't really have to be on the initial color layer. You don't have to be all that precise. See, I'm following the lines here because my brain is trained from the young age to stay in the lines. Stay in the lines, don't slop, you know. And really, in digital art, you don't really have to look at that. I'm like painting over the things twice and I'm making darker areas, but that's okay because we're gonna work from dark to light anyways. And look at this. I'm trying to stay in the lines. Now, for example, if I do go outside the lines like this, you can just come over here with an eraser and you just boom, it's gone. I mean, it's really, you don't have to worry too terribly much about going outside the lines when you're doing digital art. Now, if you're trying to follow along on a paper and pencil kind of drawing scheme, yeah, you're going to want to try to do that, especially if you're using colored markers, because those things can be just hard to work with, especially when you, not for the drawing part, but for if you go outside the lines, a colored marker is just, what do I want to say here? It's, you can't erase it, and that's kind of a thing that sucks. I'm going to go ahead and add another reference here, and I'm going to use that Raphael picture that I just, I do apologize. I got a ton of pictures I need to dig through here before I find it. There we go. Okay. Boop. There's our new reference. Now I'm going to use this to color sample off of. Pick that color right there, and then we're going to start in again, working from light to dark. And this is just going to be the lightest shade that we're going to throw in here. Again, this is going to be probably a good example of what I'm talking about right here, where you can just slop it in like so, and then come back in with your eraser and just get rid of it. Voila. Perfecto. All right. Now, there's two other things I want to do, and which one should I do for it? You know what, we'll do the shell first, because that quite honestly takes quite a bit of time. And you know what? Hopefully that's light enough. As you can see, there's some browns in there for Mikey. For Raph, I should say. And Mikey, he's got a whole different color scheme going on. He's, I think he's usually the light. Hold on a second. Well, no. That's kind of weird. I'm looking at, I got a collection of TMNT figures in my room, and I'm looking at one of them, and Mikey is not the lightest. In the old school version, it looks like Donnie was the lightest one. Kind of had an olive shade of green. Mikey kind of looked like, almost like pure green. My memory is fading me here. I do apologize. Whoops. Control Z, save me. There we go. So yeah, just basically gonna quickly fill this in. You know, I could probably just do myself a favor here and up this like that. Whoa! And just spray this whole area in really quick like. That's the wonders of digital art. You can manipulate the image, and you can just get tons of area covered and color really quick like it. Bingo, bango, bongo, you're done. Ooh, look at that. I oversprayed. But we're going to cover that up with darker colors. All right, Raph, you're going to have to move over here for a minute, buddy. And we're going to move this image down a little bit like this. And we're going to go ahead and color pick, again, the lightest shade of color. Go back to my tool. I'm going to have to downsize a little bit because I don't really, even though I was telling you that you can slop, I don't really want to do that too terribly much, because I don't like to clean up after myself ever. And you can talk to my wife about that any day of the week. She'll agree. Okay. Just going to quickly fill this in. And that is just about going to do it for the color, the light shades of color. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up right here so it looks all nice, neat, and professional. I'm a professional artist. I do not work sloppy. Alright. Now, I think I'm going to focus on the mask for a minute and go ahead and start working on the darker shades of orange. That's a little too dark. There we go. Alright. Now, since we're following this picture right here, you'll notice that, I wonder if I can zoom out a little bit on this picture. Oh, look, I could have used his shell as reference. Oh, I didn't even notice that. I'm a dummy. Okay, but if you notice, the light seems to be coming from over here. So that means the light shades are going to be over here, which this right here is probably going to stay just about like that. And then we're going to be working from a little bit darker all the way over to the darker tones. So yeah, once again, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to cut in a little bit of darker shading. Make another layer over top of the old. Now, if you wanted to, if you want to make your life a little bit easier on yourselves, you can come over here. Since I'm teaching how to do this digitally, where'd my things go? You can create another layer and go on top of this, and you can call it the shading layer. If you're working in Photoshop, you can actually name your whole layers. And but unfortunately, I'm working on Art Rage, so you know what? Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, but for this tutorial, for the sake of this tutorial, we're just going to go ahead and just go over the old colors and keep going. You generally just want to create a little bit of shade over top. And if you want to, you can go over twice and create like that shading effect. Like so. And, well, that's pretty good for that. Now we're going to go ahead and sample a little bit of that. Oop, that's a little bit too dark. Your references, move out of the way from me for a second. Let's see how that works. We're going to go ahead and just lightly brush this in. And yeah, it looks pretty good. Get that dark shades going on there. There we go. Actually, hold on a second. I'm screwing up here. That's going a little bit too far. There we go. Okay. Now you want to just generally wrap this color around this eye right here. Like so. There we go. That looks good. Now, if you want to, you can just use the same color and go over it twice and create yourself some dark shading area right here. Like that. Now we're probably going to have to blend a little bit more. Get the colors to look a little bit richer. Make them, whoa, hey no, that's a little bit too dark. Use your color samples wisely. Let's see how that works. Nope. Oh, you know what? I may have to go over here and pick a really light color to go over this. There we go. That's better. Much better. Okay, we're going to just go ahead and... Hey. Very nice. Okay. Then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and pick this color right here, this bright shade, and then we're going to go ahead and finish up the mask. Just brighten everything up over here. Go ahead and... Whoops. Alright. And generally we're just going to be trying to create the shading and the tones. You know, I'm going to go ahead and I think it's this layer. I'm going to go ahead and erase. Nope, that's not the layer. Is it this one? I think I'm going to erase these. Whoa, you know. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm going to erase these guidelines right here. There we go. Much better. That's a little bit too much. There we go. All right. Perfect. Sort of. Now I think I'm going to go back and pick a little more dark color here, and then I'm going to go in here and start creating these little, what would you call them? Little folds in the mask. And I picked the wrong layer. I'm an idiot. Let's see. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and erase these first. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and erase these. Then I'm just going to go back to this. I'm going to create those little dimples, like so. That. Maybe darken it up a little bit in the center. Shrink up the size of my spray tool and then just hit it with a little darker. There we go. Now for this edge over here, I think I'm going to just go lightly hit it with some dark shading. Right around the eyes, because it does look like he's... You know, I just noticed that over here, it's a little bit lighter underneath here, so I'm going to have to go ahead and fix that really quick. Which fortunately, in digital art, fixing things like that is really, really easy. Go ahead and touch that up underneath there. All right. Now we may want to lightly brush over this. Now I'm going to go ahead and using the wrong tool. I'm going to make the opacity on this go down to like almost nothing. That way I can just spray over this, blend it in. I was using the wrong color. Now we can do that. I'll make the shade, tone this down a little bit because it's a little bit bright. There we go. Now that, for the most part, is Mikey's mask. I'm going to go ahead and, again, brush over this a little bit just to tone these down because they're a little bit too popping out. Yeah, that works. And this area is a little bit too light, so I'm going to go ahead and brush in a little bit more color. Spending an awful lot of time on Mikey's mask, but it is a good part of his character. So that's fine. There we go. Alright, now we probably should start working on his skin tone. Now for this drawing, it's going to be quite a little bit of dark area. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go back and set the opacity back to about 50%. I'm going to color pick this bright green over here. And just generally, you know, I'm going to go ahead, just so I don't disturb this mask anymore, I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer underneath all that, and we're going to work with that. That way I can actually color underneath the mask. There we are. Ooh. That is a little bit too dark. Let's go ahead and turn the opacity down a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. Now I can work my way over here to Mikey's chrome dome. Just generally shade and tone it in. Oh, I sound like Bob Ross right now, don't I? Just a little happy tree. Yeah. Working from dark to light. Now this area over here I'm generally probably going to be leaving mostly to its devices. But over here I'm going to darken this all in quite a little bit. And I'm actually liking the opacity that I set this on, because it allows me to do multiple brushes. I get the tone that I want. Alright, now we're going to turn it up a little bit. Get darker color in here. Just working dark to light. Basically the rule of thumb. Whoopsies. A little bit too aggressive there. Huh. Now if you want to, you can like actually just sit there and draw your lines out where you want your shading to be. Like you could do like that. And get Mikey's little laugh line in here. Yeah, there we go. Now this right under here, if you notice the neck, that's the wrong button. This is just almost jet black right here. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just cut this all in with dark, 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 dark color. Just shade it all in. And maybe a little bit. Ooh, let's turn the opacity down that way. 2%. That's a little bit much. Go ahead and shade in right here. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and color pick. Turn the opacity back up to 50. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick this really dark color right here, which is pretty much black, and then just start coming in the corner and just come across like so. Gently brushing it in, just not getting too aggressive just yet. And maybe just a little bit right here, just to get us. That's a little bit too close to the edge. I think I want to work kind of like a gradient in, so I don't want to go too close to that edge of that color. I want to create some shadow and some shade. Maybe make it a little bit darker underneath his lip, because as you can see up underneath here, all the way across, there's like this dark shade underneath his lip. But the rest of this we want to blend in. There we go. Starting to look a little bit better. And brush over it lightly, 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 lightly. Maybe make it a little bit dark on the upper lip right here. That's okay. We'll erase that just here in a second. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn the opacity down just a little bit, because we're going to be wanting to work in some shade work here. A little bit of tone. Just bring it across. Letting up on the pressure as you go. There we go. That's generally what you want. Go ahead and work this in like that. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and finish off the upper lip area. Create that area of shading. Perfect. Sort of. Then right on here, go ahead and create that little edge that you see right here. And we're going to scroll up. I need to get the settings things out of the way. There we go. And I'm going to go over here and just create this little shadow on his head. Maybe blend a little bit. There we are. Alright, before I move on, I'm going to go ahead and just cut this out right there. Fix it up a little bit. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and pick this color right here, which is basically jet black. I'm going to turn the opacity back up. Whoa. Bring it back over. Probably turn it up to maybe a little bit beyond 100. And just generally brush it in. For this, since it's so dark, you don't really have to worry too terribly much. Just color it in. Making sure underneath the chin it's extra dark, because you want the extra dark area of shading. And then maybe work a little bit lighter as you go down. Because you don't want this to look jet black all the way down, because it has to come into the rest of the skin. As you see, it kind of lightens up as it comes up to here. Just a little bit of shade. Oop, I screwed it up a little bit. And there we are. Now if you wanted to, you could take your color and pick, you could actually take jet black and then just finish up underneath his chin right here. Like so. Alrighty then. Now we need to go work on Mikey's shoulder. Move this a little bit like this. Now this section shouldn't be too terribly hard. Pretty much all we have to do is pick this color right here. Get my little brush tool back here. And go ahead and move the picture down like this. And just cut in an area like so. Whoa. I wasn't prepared for that. Let's turn the opacity down a little bit. 30 maybe. See how that works? And okay, yeah, generally that works pretty good. Let's get rid of that. And then just, you know, I'm going to turn the size of this tool up a little bit just so I can cover some more area really quickly. You know what? That's looking a little bit too dark. This is the point where you're probably saying, he does not know what he's doing. And I have to agree with you on that. Alright, let's try this. That looks better. That way you're not brushing over it like 20 times and then just making it darker as you go. You just want to fill in an area of darker color. Generally making it darker as you get towards the edges. And then down here we're just going to brush it in lightly, like so. Maybe create an edge of color there. Darker color, I should say, as you get towards the edges. Because as you can see, the light's coming from this way, so these edges right here are going to be dark. So it's okay to go over these like this, and then just create that darker edge of color on the edge right here. And just fill in the rest. Maybe just smooth this out just a little bit. Starting to go into Bob Ross mode again. Just creating a happy shoulder. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to go ahead and use my color pick tool. I'm going to go ahead and almost get this jet black color. And since I got the opacity set so low, I think I might be safe to just start swiping it in. Swiping it in. There we go. Just darkening it up, making the edges darker. Basically what you're trying to do is make the muscles pop a little bit here. Make it a 3D effect going on. There we go. Maybe since it's not showing it, since it's my drawing, I'm going to go ahead and darken this up back here a little bit too. Because why not? And you know what? Technically this right here, this should probably be covered in the elbow pads. But I didn't really think that far ahead. Mainly because I'm stupid. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start shading this in more on the shoulder. Cutting that in a little bit more, and then maybe just erasing this area of lightness. That's a little bit much. It's kind of hard to deal with when you have your tool on the bigger side. You have to shrink that down a little bit so you can get more precision going on. There we go. That's what we want. That's what Daddy wants. That's what Daddy likes. Cool. Maybe just touch this up a little bit up here. Cool. Okay. Now we're going to go over here and do the same exact thing, only it's going to be a little bit on the lighter side. Just generally creating a little bit of shading, making the muscles pop out a little bit more. Follow it in on the inside here. Darken it up. And that should generally be it. Well, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of bright green here to brighten up his shoulder a bit. Maybe over here a little bit too, just to fill in these gaps. Then go ahead and color pick this and bring it back and just, there we go. Darken it up a little bit because that's a bit on the bright side. Just smoothing her out. Blending and blending. That's all color is, shade and blending. Alright, let's take a look, see what we got here so far. Looks a little rough up here, so we'll go ahead and blend that out a little bit. There we go. Sorry, I'm not talking here. Just generally blending the color in. And you know what? That's not really working for me, so I'm going to go ahead and just sample this light color over here. And then just lighten this up a little bit. Turn the opacity up to accomplish that. Okie dokie. Okay, so this shoulder right here isn't really working for me, so I'm going to go ahead and pick this light color up here. There we go. And then just blend in a little bit. There we go. Some things you notice as you're drawing, sometimes you're going a little bit too aggressive and you need to fix some things. Go ahead and fix it right here. Settings you need to get out of the way, and then this area right here, we need to create this little area, this little band of color, like so. And that's about it. There we go. Now we can go ahead and then pick some of this darker color down here. And then come back over it just lightly, just to create the gradient that we want. Light to dark, light to dark. Remember that, light to dark. That's a little bit too light there. There we go. Clean this up a little bit. There we go. That looks better. Get that clean shading in there going on. Maybe a little bit here. Then maybe pick a little bit of this darker color and then tone it back in. Shader. Shade it in just nicely so it doesn't look rough. Very nice. I think at this point I'm going to declare the skin. Whoops. Getting lazy. Let's go ahead and pick something like that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just generally clean up in here, smooth this out just a little bit, because it looks a little rough in here. Art is generally one of those things where it's a lot of cleanup work, and it's a lot of, fixing mistakes that you made along the way. And I genuinely feel pretty good about that shade work. So I'm going to go ahead. Whoa, wait a minute. It's a little bit too aggressive there. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the edges here a little bit. Actually, you know what? Surprisingly, that's pretty good. Okay, so we're going to move on to the shell now. Oh, maybe not. Wait a minute. Maybe we'll do his eyes, because Mikey has pretty blue eyes. And, oh, darn it, come on. Art Rage, work with me here, buddy. Come on. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and pick some of the lighter color. Maybe. I guess we can lighten it up like this. And whoosh, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here really, really aggressively. And just, how big is that? That needs to be smaller. We're going to downsize that quite a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and just gently start brushing in the lighter tone of blue in here. It's okay if you get dark near the edge, because it's going to get dark there anyways. Just get the lighter tones in there. Now we're going to come over here. You know what? I'm going to wait on this one. Wait a minute. Hold on. I need to erase a little bit this excess orange that bled over. What? Where is the orange at? Oh, it's on this layer. That's the problem with working on layers, and if you don't keep track of them, you can work sloppy, but it's also a problem. I mean, it's a good idea to keep track of your layers, because if you work like me, you're going to be all like, where is this at? Where is that at? It's just a good idea to keep track of your layers and what you're doing. Unlike me, Captain Unprofessional. Alright, I'm going to pick some of this darker color, and then I'm just going to shade in the rest of these pretty blues. At this point, it might be a good idea to turn the opacity up just a little bit. Not too terribly much. I don't want to go nuts here. And you know what? Again, I'm working on the wrong layer. Which layer was I on? I guess I could do one of the layers. There we go. We're going with the upper layers. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, now we're going to come over here. Well, hold on a second. Maybe I'll turn the opacity down a little bit and just blend this in a little bit. Let's see how that looks from a distance. A little bit too lighter on the eyes, honestly. Let's go ahead, and since this is underneath the dark layer, we're going to go ahead and come in around the edge. Around the edge. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Now we're going to repeat the process. Get out of my way, my friend. I'm going to move this over here like so, and this looks pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and pick some of this lighter shade of blue. And just generally start repeating the process. Like so. Darken it in here, create a light band around the edge. And you know, I can actually start picking colors for my own drawing if I wanted to. Quit being a cheetah. And just dark around the edge. Blending into the light. And darken around the iris, the pupil. But what is the name of that thing? I cannot remember. Once again, my brain is failing me. All right, well, we'll go ahead and back out a little bit and see how that looks compared to this one. Okay, now, if you notice this guy's eyes, this guy right here, his eyes are quite bright. So we're going to go ahead, zoom in again, and then I'm going to bring in some kind of bit of shade work into the eyeballs. So maybe bring that up a little bit. I'm going to start working with a little bit of a light gray and see how that we'll use that layer because this is my line. Actually, there we go. That work with your color layers. Don't work with that way. I'm stumbling over myself here. If you try to color on the line work, you're going to be coloring over it, and you're just going to be defeating your own work because you want to keep these lines dark and crisp. So you want to work with the color layers. That way, when you do shade work like this, it's not just going to be shading over them. There we go. Might as well just shade this whole eyeball in like this. Just make it a little bit darker. And this eyeball, for the most part, do the same thing. And start working it a little bit darker from the corner on over. Maybe at the bottom right here, shade it in a little bit more. On the edge, this one's a little bit lighter, so we're just going to darken the edge up a little bit. Hey, no metallic. We don't want metallic. Mikey is not a robot. Or is he? Dun dun dun. Alright. This eyeball's fine. I think what I need to do is I'm just going to go into almost pure black and then just start shading around the eye. Finish up the darker tones. Now there is a technique that I know of. I have a friend in Rome. Okay, that looks pretty good. There is a technique that I know of that you can use. You can actually go grayscale. And hold on, I'm going to zoom in on this real quick because I need some color to pick. Okay. You can go grayscale and then just color over it with the colors that you want to use, and the tones will blend themselves out. I've seen that done. It's a really easy technique to use, and I don't use that technique because I'm kind of a twit. True story, folks. All right, now we're going to start working on that shell work. Fold the shell back. Zoom in here a little bit. And this is just generally going to be really easy work to do because all you have to do is just darken in the areas right here. Darken it along this line. Shade along here. And since this is going to be on the dark side of everything, we're going to go ahead and just make this quite a bit darker than what Raphael has going on over there. And maybe I'll bring it a little bit darker towards the edge here. Create a bit of a 3D effect, get a little bit of lighter shading in there, but try to get the darker tones worked in. Now I'm going to be almost going into black here. Now mind you, I still have the opacity set, the opacity set really low, so that way I can just keep brushing over this and get the tone that I want. And that's really good. If you're just getting used to coloring work, or if you're not sure where you're going to go with stuff, it's a good idea to do that. This side looks fine. Outside of maybe erasing some of these errant color splurges over here. Errant color splurges. Alright, I think for the most part we're done. Yeah, that looks good. Now for Mikey, we're going to go work on his chest here. And as you can see, I started off with this little light yellow. And then we're going to start working in on a bit of the orange color here. Pick that color. Alright, now the opacity, let's make sure the opacity. Pick your right tools before you get your settings, folks. Okay, get the, forgetting the name of my own tools here. You need to get this, here. You need to get this airbrush right here. Click that, and then we're going to go to settings. The opacity is still set quite low, so we should be okay. But I think I'm going to go ahead and bring the size of this thing up a little bit, and then just put a general layer of color over this, which is turning out to be too dark. We need to get the opacity down a little bit. The thing about color work is sometimes it's just about feeling it out. Just laying a little bit of gentle color down at a time, seeing how it looks, and adjusting it as you go. See, now this looks a little bit better. This is more what we're wanting. Now, if you don't want to, if you want to create more of a 3D effect, you don't have to just darken this all in. You can go along the edges like so. And leave the center a little bit more white. But on the edge over here, we definitely want this darkened in. Because remember, the light is coming from this direction over here. So over here, it's going to be a little bit lighter. As you can see in this picture, it's more like that. So we're generally going to go ahead and just shade in a little bit along the edges. Create that 3D look. Make it look real nice. And I'm going to take the color picker, get out my way settings, and then take this lighter color and then just, whoa, that's a little bit too big. Get my tool. I double click there. Get the size of the tool a little bit smaller. That way we can cover this up with this nice shade of orangish color. Brighten it up quite a little bit. There we go. Now you're going to want to repeat the process over here on the top of the shell. Now to brighten it up even more, you might even want to just, on the fly, do like that. Take it up looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and darken this up quite a little bit and then just start working on the edge. Because you want to get that shadow shading effect going on here. A little bit of shading. Shading, shading, shading. Maybe a little bit over here. Shade, 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 shade. Because you definitely want the side of the shell to look a little bit darker. Maybe right here in the middle, put a little bit of shade work. Alrighty. Let's see how that looks in relation to the TMNT picture. That's still quite a considerably bit darker than what I'm doing. Whoopsie daisy. Now to accomplish this, I think I'm going to turn the opacity down quite light and then just put a light spray over this just to get that shade that I'm looking for. Darken her up a little bit more. Voila. Well, guys, I think I think that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and hide the references. Just get rid of the references, get rid of the layers, get rid of this. And you know what? Let's go into workbench mode. There we go. Perfect. Now, let's see. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then get the airbrush tool. I think I'm just going to touch this up here just a little bit, darken her in because that's a little bit too shiny. Mikey's chrome dome is a little bit too shiny. Alrighty, guys. Well, that's pretty much it. That's how you color in. Ooh, look at this right here. I missed a spot. There we go. Alright, guys. Well, I think I'm going to wrap this whole thing up now. If you notice, this piece of artwork is a little on the rough side here and there, but this video wasn't to give you, a perfect piece of art. It was just to show you the techniques involved in to create a shaded, toned piece of colored artwork. And I think I did that to a good extent. Now, if you wanted to, you could sit back and use the techniques I've showed you until this piece of art is just completely perfect. It's just, you polish it until it shines like something Nickelodeon would put out. But again, that's not the goal of this video, and I'm not going to do that in this video. I think I've showed you enough in this video that you can actually sit down and do this yourself. Just polish it up and just get this all worked out until it just shines. But anyways, my name has been J Bob. I do hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Hope you found it informative. And if you do, I'll come back and do another one in the future. If you've enjoyed this enough, maybe drop a like and a favorite or subscribe if you're feeling saucy. Anyways, my name has been J Bob, guys. I'm going to go ahead